It's so cold out here, my ears are burning and my fingertips, they feel like they're on fire. But you're gonna wanna see this. Come on inside, check this out.
Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to MotorCity Boat Works. Let's get to work. I got something special for you today. You know, I've been on boondoggles in a variety of places looking at old boats. I've found boats behind barns, hidden away in the backfield of someone's farm, but I have never found an abandoned sailboat inside a warehouse. I'm in downtown Detroit in the old Saxton Automotive Factory, and wouldn't you know it, I'm here to take a look at a 30-foot sailboat hidden away in the back corner. I'm gonna take you on a tour of the inside of this boat. We're gonna see what's going on and try and figure out what is this boat. I hope you stick with me. MotorCity Boat Works is my amateur boat building and boat restoration studio. I built it in my retirement. Every day I'm plugging along, working on restoring some old sailboats and the 27-foot pocket trawler that I have inside my shop. But some days it's too cold or I'm too tired and I'm looking for some motivation. I have a bucket list of boats that I always wanted to look at, that I always wanted to work on. I go in search of these boats, and that's what led me to find this very unusual boat listed on Craigslist. It's on sale on Marketplace for just $1,500. It supposedly has a Yanmar diesel engine inside of it. I can't quite tell whether it's a wood boat or a fiberglass boat, so I've driven into downtown Detroit to try and check this thing out. It's brought me to this abandoned warehouse building. It's supposedly an old car factory from the turn of the century.
It's so cold out here, my ears are burning and my fingertips, they feel like they're on fire. But you're gonna wanna see this. Come on inside. Check this out. Whoa, look at that. I just want to remind everyone that MotorCity Boat Works has no sponsors. I get no compensation when I film these boats. I have no financial interests in their sale, and I receive no compensation. The current owner is a guy named Dave. His company, Davies Antique and Salvage, was hired to clear out this building so that investors could demolish it and build something new. This is all part of the new life of Detroit, new construction arising from the ashes of the old. Dave and I spoke by phone just this morning. He agreed that I could climb on the boat and check it out, try and figure out what it might be. He tells me that this building was once a car factory. Saxon Motor Company supposedly manufactured cars on this site. Parts of this building are supposedly over 100 years old. This particular building was supposedly one of hundreds designed in the city of Detroit by the famous architect Albert Kahn. At one point in the 1930s, Albert Kahn was responsible for designing almost 20% of all the automotive factories in the United States. His buildings are landmarks in downtown Detroit today. More recently, this building was owned by an eccentric real estate developer named Joel Landy. Joel Landy is well known in Detroit. Before Detroit ever started making its comeback, he bought several blocks along what's known as Cass Corridor. Over the years, he leveraged those properties, some of them very famous. Landy was known to collect exotic cars. Some of his buildings were filled with rare parts and vehicles. He was once rumored to be on the American Pickers show. They were going to come to Detroit and see what treasure he had hidden away in his building. Joel Landy passed away in 2020. He had no family, no heirs. Everything he owned passed into a trust. No one knows how this boat got inside the building. Was this part of Landy's collection? It looks like it's going to be fiberglass, and I'm going to guess that this is some sort of a bolt-on keel. We'll know when I go inside there. This is all fiberglass. We measured this thing. I said 30 foot, but it's actually 27.5 feet long, it looks like, the hull, and then it's got another 3.5 foot bowsprit up here. It looks like it's got wooden mast, spars, boom, all that is all wood.
And I want to see what the deck is like because it looks like it might be wood.
From looking at the outside of the sailboat, we know a few things. One is that it has a shoal draft keel. It looks like the keel is attached to the boat somehow, and that appears to be metal, but it doesn't sound like solid lead. It looks kind of like a Bristol channel cutter, but the rudder's not right. It's got this barn door rudder. A Bristol channel cutter is a traditional sailing vessel. They're very seaworthy. They're very common in the United Kingdom, and it's one of the boats on my bucket list, but it's definitely not. If it was a Bristol channel cutter, there'd be a rudder hanging off the transom of the boat. The bowsprit is integral to the boat. It's 3.5 feet long. The overall length of the boat is somewhere around 27.5 feet. It's got a wood mast and a wood boom. It's very traditional with all traditional bronze fittings, and it looks like it might even have wheel steering. This is kind of a weird combination of characteristics to having a boat this size. The real question is, what is this boat made out of? Is it fiberglass or is it wood? The hull seems to be fiberglass, but you've got this wood garboard rail goes all the way around the top of the boat. From the outside, it doesn't quite look like a homemade boat.
This is gonna be a death trap here. Look at this. This looks like a racing boat. The deck looks like it's in pretty good shape. I mean, it's a complete disaster dome. This is all from the ceiling kind of coming down on top here, but you know, take a look at the wood here. I mean, look at that. Man, it looks, to be honest with you, it looks surprisingly complete. It's a little precarious up here. We got all kinds of like wires and electrical cables and all kinds of stuff hanging down here from the building. I'm assuming the power's not on, so we can move around here. Surprisingly, the deck looks like it's in pretty good shape. The deck looks like it's in pretty good shape. Check this out. What? Oh. I'm gonna kill myself doing this. Ugh. I'm gonna tell you, I hope there's not like a homeless guy living down here or something.
It's obvious that this is a wooden boat, but it's not exactly a traditional construction, plank on plank or carvel. It's something different. Today, cold molding is an ultralight method of making very strong, very lightweight wooden boats that are reinforced with fiberglass. But back in the day, prior to 1960 or 70, there were wooden boats that were made using a form of cold molding. Basically, they were wooden boats made of plywood and then covered in fiberglass. In my personal library, I once had a book about building cold molded hulls using some older techniques. One of my favorite YouTube channels is called Ran Sailing. A couple is building a DIY 50-foot using a modern cold molded technique. If you're interested in this sort of thing, be sure to check it out. I find it fascinating.
All right, so, man, if I didn't know better, I would say this looks like a cold molded hull. It does not look like, it's fiberglass on the outside, but it's going to be cold molded, which means it was originally wood.
In some places, the paint or the epoxy is pulled away from the wood and it's in amazing condition. The absence of planks indicates that maybe it was thin plywood that was bent around some sort of a jig. This is what leads me to think that at one time this was a wooden boat, but someone later covered it in fiberglass.
I don't know if you can see it here. So I don't know if you can see this, but right here, we're debating. So this is a fiberglass
on the outside here, but it's obviously wood on the inside. So that's what leads me to believe that it's cold molded. If you look right here in the light, you can almost see the weave pattern right here of the fiberglass. You see this? This is fiberglass fabric right here. See that? Which would indicate to me that this was a wood hull and then somebody put fiberglass over this, right? They call it cold molding.
And I'll tell you what, this old girl is kind of cool. She's got some cool lines. And I love this kind of bulwarks here. This up here is just beautiful. Somebody did a nice job on that. You know, been banged up a little bit, but the hull looks surprisingly in good shape. These are for chain plates here, probably. So you see a lot of this right here. So this is all solid. This at some point was wood covered with epoxy, and it's in not bad a shape. I mean, but the wood is solid behind here. It is the epoxy layer that is. This is all solid. Everything here that I'm looking at is solid. Now, what we're looking at down here, this is going to be a poured concrete keel, probably inside a fiberglass or wood fiberglass keel enclosure, right? This is poured keel inside here, going all the way forward, way up to there, and they got these two steel, I guess these are stringers here. It looks like what it's bolted onto here. It's hard to say.
It seems like the keel was made of metal, almost like a tub, and then filled with concrete to be used as ballast. The keel and the cold molding is what makes me think that this might have been a home build. Somebody might have built this boat in their backyard. Seems like a clever solution, but I've never seen a keel constructed this way before.
So what I want to show here, what we were looking at from the outside is the keel is affixed to the hull, right? It's glued in place in a couple of places. But this is what gives you the standing headroom inside this boat with that shoal draft keel.
Although it's filthy, everything is in surprisingly good shape. There's very little wood damage.
All bronze portholes, look at that. This is solid. The wood's solid, so it just needs to be, you would need to recoat that.
Based on the sails and the mast and the rigging, I would think that this is going to be some sort of a gaff rig cutter.
One sail, you got at least two head sails. This, if I didn't know better, that's your tiller right there. Cushions. Looks like you got a full complement of the original sails. This could be gaff rigged or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
What really stands out is the Yanmar diesel engine. It's in amazing shape. The whole boat's in very good shape, probably because it was stored inside. I would imagine this engine was added at a later date from the boat's construction, probably just like the pedestal steering.
That's your quadrant right there. You got a fuel tank right, looks like right there.
Right as I was about to leave the boat, next to the electrical box, I found some paperwork, and wouldn't you know, inside was the boat registration. I guess that confirms that this boat belonged to Joel Landy.
There's some paperwork inside here that says it's a 28-foot assembled boat, but what that could mean is that the boat was registered at some date as a home-built boat, but in reality, it might have been built semi-professional well before that. It just kind of begins its life anew in registration. So there's no way of knowing. There's no builder plates or anything like that inside here that I can see. The engine's in very good shape. There's a lot of gear inside here, some electronics. It has been updated at some point, but of course it's been sitting inside the warehouse here. It's about 10 degrees inside here. It's so cold. If you take your gloves off, even for just a couple minutes, your fingertips start burning. A lot of the damaged surfaces that you see in here, the wood and what have you, it doesn't appear to be rotted. It just seems like the paint's either peeling off maybe there's some moisture going on inside there. There was one soft spot on the corner of the coach house as I came on the boat, right in the corner there, but not too significant, you know.
Long time ago, I learned about wooden boat building, but I've always made the decision wooden boats are really not for me. But I gotta say, this one is really interesting. If I was ever gonna work on a traditional wooden boat, something cold molded like this might be the project that I would do. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm already 3 sailboats deep, plus the trawler build, I might give this one a shot. It's all wood, this is all complete. This stuff is all complete. The engine's in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a huge project to restore it, but, you know, it's all there. It's pretty. So this is my amateur assessment. What you've got here is a 28-foot gaff rig cutter. It's a wooden boat, but it's probably cold molded. At one time in its life, it was repowered with this Yanmar diesel engine and probably the pedestal steering. It's on a steel cradle with rollers. It seems to be complete with all the rigging, all the stainless steel and bronze fittings. And it's confirmed it was once owned by Joel Landy. Was probably part of his collection. And it's for sale for $1,500. But here's the thing. The reason that I rushed to get this episode out there so you could see it is because this building and the boat inside of it are going to be destroyed within 6 weeks. This boat has to either go to a new home or it's going to be chopped up and parted out. I wanted to make sure that I got this episode out there in case there's someone somewhere who's looking for a wooden boat to restore, and they want to start with something that's relatively complete, and hey, it's got an engine inside of it. I'll put the owner's contact information in the show description with the Facebook ad. Make sure you contact them directly with any questions or if you need more information.
I hope you got something out of this episode. It's always interesting to go check out these old boats. When I find them, I like to bring you along. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. This channel would not be possible without your support. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Stay motivated.